On this day, September 25th, 1978, this plane, a Boeing 727, owned by Pacific Southwest Airlines, or PSA, and flight numbered 182, took off from Sacramento Airport in Sacramento, California. Its final destination was Lindbergh Field in San Diego, California, but it made a quick fuel stop at LAX in Los Angeles, California. At 8:30 a.m., the 727 took off from LAX, making its way down to her final destination of Lindbergh Field. However, 14 minutes before PSA Flight 182 took off from LAX at 8:16 a.m., this plane, a Cessna Type 172 numbered N7711G or November 7711 Golf, took off from Montgomery Field in northern San Diego. In the pilot seat was a trainee pilot, but in the co-pilot seat was a trainer pilot. The trainer was going to teach the trainee on how to do an ILS approach. I'm now currently in Montgomery Field in San Diego, California. At 8:16 a.m., a Cessna 172, which is this model, but it's obviously not the same plane, but it is this model, a Cessna 172, took off on the runway right here and headed towards Montgomery Field, somewhere over there. The trainee pilot and the trainer pilot flew down to the west side of Montgomery Field to attempt their first ILS approach. An ILS approach stands for Instrument Landing Systems Approach. This is a condition where the pilot has to land the plane using only the instruments on the dashboard of the plane. So the Cessna came in right here and landed on the runway right here before she took off again and went around and came back for the second time for their second ILS landing. As they were completing their second approach, the air traffic controller told them to go on a heading of 70 degrees, and they did so. But they only kept that 70 degrees for about a minute before they turned and started heading exactly 90 degrees to the east. At around that same time, the 727 was just passing over this vortex right here, and after it passed over it, it started to make a right-hand turn, and it too also locked onto a heading of 90 degrees to the east. So both the Cessna and the 727 are both heading in the same direction. Alright guys, so this is going to be very hard to show you exactly how the crash played out. So to make it simpler, I'm going to be using models to show you. So let's pretend that this 737 is the 727. And let's pretend that this old World War II plane is the Cessna, just to make it easier on you guys. So, when the 727 was coming in, air traffic control told them that there was a small aircraft within their vicinity. From their perspective, they could see it off to their right-hand side. So they said, yes, we can see it. They started to quickly overtake the Cessna from about this perspective, and then they had to make their base leg landing. Quick correction, they weren't on their base leg landing. They were actually on what they called their downwind approach. What is a downwind approach? Well, a downwind approach is when they go exactly parallel to the runway on their downwind, and then they turn, and that's when they get on their base leg before they will turn again and go onto their final approach before landing on the runway. So, they turned and started heading this way. And from this point on, they lost sight of the Cessna, but they just made the assumption that it was lower, so they were just going to pass right over it. But they were terribly wrong. The Cessna was right in the path of their wing, as the Cessna was caught by the wing, split in half, and exploded on the wing. And because of that, the Cessna blew up and basically fell almost straight to the ground. So the collision probably took place right here as the Cessna blew up and came to rest right here on the street. The instructor
and the student pilot were both killed as the Cessna came down right here.
The 727, meanwhile, after the collision, the wing was basically on fire at this point, and because they were in the middle of their base leg approach when the crash happened, it made the turn much more sharper, and it caused the plane to start descending. As it continued its long right-hand descend, the pilots realized they couldn't pull out of it. As the wing crashed to the ground first, then the nose, and according to some witnesses, it began to tumble as it continued crashing down the road.
So the collision took place somewhere over there as the plane made the long turn as she crashed right here. And you can tell this is original because of all the cracks in the concrete right in front of this driveway right here. So you can still see the cracks from when the wing crashed right here. As the plane continued on, they crashed through these houses over here. It did slight damage to this house, did very bad damage to that house, and everything beyond it was completely destroyed. So you see some of these houses over here are brand new. That's because they were rebuilt after the crash. If you go across the street from the impact point, if you look over here, you can still see some chips in the concrete as they go all the way through here until this new pavement gets built. Because this is original pavement since the 70s, but this one looks brand new. That's because they rebuilt this after the plane completely destroyed everything in its path. So the plane crashed right there, and some of the debris came over to this old telephone pole right here. So this one is brand new, but this one was standing right here in the crash, and it somehow managed to survive. So it did minimal damage to this house. This house got serious damage, and everything beyond it was completely destroyed. All 135 people on the 727 were killed in the crash. The 2 Cessna pilots over there also died, and 7 people on the ground here were also killed. And 2 of those 7 people were children.